A left-wing fact-check site blows apart one of the major reasons Joe Biden claims he even ran for president in the first place. It was all a lie. His whole presidency is a lie. And we'll give you the details, even though you probably already know them since you don't even listen to left-wing media. Also, speaking of left-wing media, CNN gave us a really good preview this morning of how they're going to moderate this week's debate. And we'll show you all the gory details. And Andrew Cuomo sits down with a couple of other liberals on HBO, Bill Maher's show to be specific, and says the quiet part out loud. Plus, AOC completely unhinged in the Bronx. We're back, baby. And we're brought to you by the Electronic Payments Coalition. I'm Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry. Yeah, we had a few days off last week because of illness in the family, but everybody's back and everyone's feeling better. And thanks for the prayers, by the way, if you were throwing any our way. We're sorry we missed a couple of shows, but we're back and better than ever and can't wait to get you right to the debate this week and all the other news that we're going to be covering every single day right up to the election and beyond. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting what we do. Thanks for liking our videos and sharing. And for everybody live right now on Rumble in the chat room, we missed you, but we're back. Thanks for your patience. Earlier this morning on CNN, we got a real good glimpse of how they're going to be moderating the debate this week between President Trump and President Biden. Now, many people have shown you the little clip where the Trump spokesman's mic has been cut off. And we're going to get to that. But I want you to see the entire segment because, ladies and gentlemen, this is CNN.
Joining me now is Caroline Leavitt. She is Trump campaign national press secretary. Caroline, thanks very much for being here on the show. We played that to remind everyone that that was some of what they saw on the debate stage in 2020. Of course, President Trump went on to lose that election to Joe Biden. Can you tell us what Donald Trump is going to do differently on the debate stage this time?
Yeah, we're going to get that answer in a second. But I just want you, again, just to set the tone for this interview on the morning show on CNN, take a look at how Casey Hunt began the entire thing with Caroline Leavitt. They just showed this clip of the last debate. And look, I want you to focus on Casey Hunt's face and her reaction as she brings in the spokesperson. Watch.
Joining me now is Caroline Leavitt. She is Trump campaign national.
You see that? You see that? You see that? Wow. What an idiot that Trump is. What a complete and total show that last debate was. And now we're CNN. We're going to be hosting this upcoming debate. You can't trust these people. I don't know why the Trump team did. And here's Caroline Leavitt, the spokesperson, with an olive branch saying, sure, let's promote the big CNN debate. Let's give them a ton of ratings. Let's show up this morning and answer questions. Okay, so that's how they set it up. Let's watch some more.
Trump is going to do differently on the debate stage this time?
Sure. Well, President Trump is well prepared ahead of Thursday's debates. Unlike Joe Biden, he doesn't have to hide away and have his advisors tell him what to say. President Trump knows what he wants to say, and he's going to relay his vision to the American people to make this country strong, safe, secure, and wealthy again. He's been doing that across this great nation to all corners of this country. That's why he was in Detroit, Michigan last week. He was in Philadelphia for a big rally on Saturday night. And that's why President Trump is knowingly going into a hostile environment on this very network on CNN with debate moderators who have made their opinions about him very well known over the past 8 years and their biased coverage of him. So President Trump is willing to bring his message to every corner of this country, to voters, to ensure that he wins this election in November. He looks forward to doing that. And I know the American public look forward to hearing from him.
So I'll just say my colleagues, Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, have acquitted themselves as professionals as they have covered campaigns and interviewed candidates from all sides of the aisle. I'll also say that if you talk to analysts of debates previous, that if you're attacking the moderators, you're usually losing. So I really want to focus in on what these two men are going to do and say when they stand on the stage. Now, we have a little bit of what Donald Trump, your boss, has said in trying to set expectations for this debate. I want to play a series of his comments, and then we'll talk about it. Watch.
All right, and we're going to watch that in a second, but I do want to interject here. What you just saw from Casey Hunt is a perfect preview as to what you're going to see on the debate stage Thursday night. Donald Trump will give his response. He'll give his answer, and then either Jake or Dana Bash or both Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, will say, well, let me just pause here for a moment and crap on everything Donald Trump just said. And let's just tell everyone that none of that is true. Everything was wrong. It was all a lie. How do I know this? Because I've seen it before. Because in the last debate, they said the same thing about the Hunter Biden laptop, and they let Joe Biden lie through his teeth about that. They do this every time Joe Biden debates. Joe Biden has been debating since the Nixon administration. If there's one thing Joe Biden knows how to do, it's lie. And he knows the media is going to have their back. So what you just saw from Casey Hunt, okay, fine, we'll let the Trump person say these things, but then I'll come in with this fake authority that I'm wrapped in because I'm behind a desk at CNN, and I'll let all our viewers know that everything they just heard was a big steaming pile of crap. That's what Tapper and Bash are going to do, because they want to tilt the scale for Biden because that's their team. But number two, and most importantly, because they don't trust you. They think so little of you that you can't hear a politician talk to you and sort through it to determine what you think is true and what is not. You need Jake Tapper there to tell you what's a lie, because you'll never figure it out for yourself. All right, so let's get back to this.
Maybe I'm better off losing the debate. I'll make sure he says I'll lose the debate on purpose. Maybe I'll do something like that. I assume he's going to be somebody that will be a worthy debater. Should I be tough and nasty and just say you're the worst president in history? Or should I be nice and calm and let him speak?
So he's basically saying there, well, will I let Joe Biden win? It does seem as though many Republicans have set the bar very low in terms of arguing that Joe Biden is basically senile. Now you have people like Doug Burgum coming out and saying, well, President Biden's very accomplished, trying to set expectations in a different place. What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently
stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking
Trump
my colleagues.
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you
I'm
continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay.
Now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Caroline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
Wow, man, that is weak, and that's kind of unhinged. Did you notice how she was sort of breathless? She was so agitated and so upset. That's a sign of weakness, by the way. It's amazing to me that, if you're the host of a show and you don't like the thing that the person on the air is saying, you let them say. After all, you are a host. You have welcomed them onto your show. You let them say what they want. And Lord knows, as she just said, we're going to turn to the panel now. You'll have plenty of time to discuss it. But when you have to cut them off, shut off their microphone, shut off the camera, and refuse to let them speak, it's actually a sign of fear that you are terrified of what the person is going to say. And let's just remind you exactly what that person, the spokesperson for the Trump campaign, Caroline Leavitt, said that got her so agitated.
And saying, well, President Biden's very accomplished, trying to set expectations in a different place. What do you expect from Joe Biden?
Well, first of all, it takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently
stop this interview if you're going to keep
President
attacking
Trump
my
Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to.
All right, that's what got her so agitated. It just takes someone 5 minutes, even less, to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, and see how he's consistently called him Adolf Hitler. Now, this clip, what you just saw, especially the last 40 seconds there, it's blown up. It's everywhere. It's exploded. More people have seen this clip of Casey Hunt from this morning's CNN morning show than actually watch the CNN morning show because of that unhinged reaction. And here's how they've defended themselves, by the way. Casey Hunt took to X and said, you come on my show and you respect my colleagues, period. I don't care what side of the aisle you stand on, as my track record clearly shows. Oh, okay, we'll look into Casey Hunt's track record in just a second. It doesn't take much. But do you notice something about Casey Hunt's response here to that segment? She says, you respect my colleagues. In other words, what Caroline Leavitt was doing there was disrespecting her colleague, Jake Tapper. What Casey Hunt doesn't say is Caroline Leavitt was lying. What Casey Hunt doesn't say is Caroline Leavitt was not delivering facts and we only work with facts. No. She's just concerned that the truth is disrespectful to Jake Tapper. This is about respecting Jake Tapper, not respecting the truth. It's an interesting business Casey Hunt is in. By the way, Caroline Leavitt responded to that and said, you cut off my microphone for bringing up the debate moderator's history of anti-Trump lies. This proved our point. President Trump will not be treated fairly on Thursday, yet he's still willing to go into this 3-on-1 fight to bring his winning message to the American people, and he will win. And with all due respect to Ms. Leavitt, she's got it wrong. It's not a 3-on-1 fight. It's actually about a 23-on-1 fight, because not only will it be Joe Biden and Jake Tapper and Dana Bash, but it will be all the producers and directors and associate producers and other network people that will be in Dana Bash and Jake Tapper's ear, giving them facts, giving them references, giving them ideas, giving them talking points, feeding them lines. And well, for all I know, they'll be in Joe Biden's ear too. So Casey Hunt says, as my track record would show, it doesn't matter what side of the aisle you come from. Well, let's take a look at Casey Hunt's Twitter page, because that's the banner picture Casey Hunt has decided to post over there on X. It could have been a picture of herself at a news desk. It could have been a picture of her climbing the Rockies. It could have been a picture of her team there at CNN and her production assistants that do so much work bringing her a cup of coffee. But no, the picture she chose was a very flattering one of President Joe Biden shaking her hand and grinning. And to be fair, she does seem to be leaning backwards as if she's avoiding the inevitable sniff of her hair that often comes with a Joe Biden close encounter. But of all the pictures she decided to choose for her social media page, she chose that one. I mean, if I didn't know who Casey Hunt was and I just looked at this page, I would be forgiven if I thought that Casey Hunt worked for the White House, worked for the Biden administration, worked for the Biden campaign. In reality, she kind of does, though, doesn't she? An unpaid worker for the campaign, but she certainly does her job for the campaign. But here's what's interesting about this 40-second clip that you just saw. Well, you saw the extended 3-minute version, but that 40 seconds where she jumps in and interrupts and says, no, I'm going to cut off your mic. You can't do this. You can't do this. As I said, more people now have seen that clip than ever see CNN's morning show on any given day. And because of that, people are saying, well, what's she so afraid of? What's she so freaked out about? All Caroline Leavitt said was, Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, and Adolf Hitler. Well, I'm going to go ahead and do that. And people have done that. And here's what they found.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States. Donald Trump, a couple times over the weekend, referred to immigrants from South America, Africa, and Asia. He did not mention Europe, South America, Africa, and Asia as, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, which it's not hyperbole. That does very directly echo Adolf Hitler's language before World War II. To open up a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf, you would find the Nazi leader describing the mixing of non-Germans with Germans as poisoning. There's really no other way to say it. Donald Trump's language mirrors this directly.
Oh, so that's what Casey Hunt was trying to hide. That guy, the guy you just saw for 45 seconds in that montage put together by Jack Posobiec. Thank you, Jack. That guy is the moderator for the debate this Thursday. Yeah, that guy. And the spokesperson for the Trump campaign said, all you have to do is take a look at his track record and you'll see exactly what he thinks of Donald Trump. And so people have now. People know exactly what Jake Tapper, they know exactly what Jake Tapper thinks of Donald Trump. And he's the guy who's moderating the debate, along with Dana Bash, by the way. And so then people searched some more and said, well, what else has this guy said about Donald Trump? What else have these two said about Joe Biden? How are these two moderators going to conduct themselves at the debate? And, well, they probably saw something like this.
Now the Trump presidency is coming to an end. It has been a time where truth and fact were treated with disdain. It is a time of cruelty, an era of just plain meanness. For tens of millions of our fellow Americans, their long national nightmare is over.
There's a lot for President Biden to tout. Americans don't seem to be giving him the credit. Why is that, and what does he have to do to turn that around? He certainly met the moment they wanted him to be a fighter. And boy, fight did he deliver. Trump's claim about Biden orchestrating the trial is baseless. Allegations with absolutely no evidence that he was making against President Biden, that he is behind all of the prosecutions. There's no evidence that Joe Biden was involved. There's no evidence, absolutely no evidence that Biden himself was involved. Donald Trump is now the presumptive Republican nominee for president. U.S. intelligence agencies are reportedly preparing to share classified briefings with him. Should Donald Trump receive intelligence briefings?
Congressman Brian Mast, a Republican from Florida, who lost his legs, by the way, fighting for democracy abroad, although I don't know about his commitment to it here in the United States. And we are waiting for former President Trump to make his first formal remarks. We're not carrying his remarks live because, frankly, he says a lot of things that are not true and sometimes potentially dangerous. That was the worst debate I have ever seen. In fact, it wasn't even a debate. It was a disgrace, primarily because of President Trump lying, maliciously attacking the son of the vice president.
You just took the words out of my mouth. You used some high-minded language. I'm just going to say it like it is. That was a shit show.
The president does not think he's going to win this election, and he wants to bring the rest of us down with him.
Wow. There. Well, now we all know exactly who's moderating the debate. Why the Trump campaign agreed to this thing, honestly, I'll never know. And frankly, I still don't think it's going to happen. In fact, I think the Trump campaign should say, we are not setting foot on that stage until Casey Hunt apologizes for how she treated our spokesperson this morning. And I think it's incumbent on Casey Hunt and CNN to explain exactly the error that Ms. Leavitt made in speaking. I mean, all she said was the moderators are not going to be fair. The moderators have a built-in bias against Donald Trump. And I just showed you the evidence of that. I mean, it's an obvious fact. And so the Trump campaign should say, unless we get an apology, we're not going to be there Thursday night. Why should we bring you any ratings if this is how you're going to treat our people, if this is how we know you're going to treat our candidate? But I will say this about Casey Hunt. You've heard about the Streisand effect. Barbara Streisand was really upset that there were aerial shots of her home in Malibu that were available on the internet. And so she wanted them removed. And of course, that just meant that more and more millions and millions of people worldwide searched for pictures of Barbara Streisand's mansion. Millions of more people saw Barbara Streisand's mansion than ever would have seen her mansion and property had she just kept her mouth shut. And, well, I guess we can rename this now the Casey effect. Because I think millions and millions and millions more Americans have seen exactly who Jake Tapper and Dana Bash are and why they are unfit to be moderators for this presidential debate than ever would have had Casey Hunt actually acted as a professional this morning. But she didn't. And now you know. Now we all know. That right there, that is CNN. Hey, do you think your savings can weather an economic storm? Have you thought about that recently? Think about what you put away for the future, right? And then think about the economic conditions we've been living through. Inflation, as we've learned, can render cash worthless. Real estate can crash just like it did in 2008. Some people are predicting a similar crash right around the corner. Economies built on a mountain of debt can fall like a house of cards. There are very few physical assets you can invest in that can stand the test of time. Gold has withstood as a valued form of money for millennia. It's why people are flocking to it now and why Birch Gold is busier than ever. Through a little-known tax loophole, Birch Gold lets you convert a retirement account into a tax-sheltered IRA in physical gold. And the best part, it doesn't cost you a penny out of pocket. To learn more about this, text my name, Larry, to 989898. Claim your free info kit on gold. Can your IRA or 401k weather an economic storm? If not, call the people I trust, Birch Gold. Text my name, Larry, Larry, to 989898 and secure your savings today. Well, everyone was stunned this weekend when the left-wing fact-checking website, Snopes.com, published this report. Take a look at the headline. No, Trump did not call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. Trump's remarks about the deadly Charlottesville Unite the Right rally in 2017 remain controversial. Well, why are they controversial, Snopes? See, they can't even let the subheadline go without throwing in controversy. They're only controversial because people have been lying about these remarks. Now, I'm sure this isn't news to you, since you get your news from town hall media, since you watch me and you probably listen to conservative media and conservative talk radio. You've known for a long time that Trump did not say that neo-Nazis and white supremacists were very fine people. But this new fact check from Snopes, 7 years too late, this is going to be a real problem for people who consume their media from your typical corporate-owned left-wing outlets, or if they happen to believe Joe Biden, the president of the United States, because this lie about Donald Trump has circulated on corporate media in left-wing fever swamps and directly from the president of the United States for quite some time. In fact, in 2019, take a look at the announcement video that Joe Biden put out announcing that he was running for president. This is in 2019. And look at the framing of his entire decision-making process about why he was running for president.
Charlottesville, Virginia is home to the author of one of the great documents in human history. We know it by heart. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal, endowed by their creator with certain inalienable rights. We've heard it so often, it's almost a cliche, but it's who we are. We haven't always lived up to these ideals. Jefferson himself didn't, but we have never before walked away from them. Charlottesville is also home to a defining moment for this nation in the last few years. It was there on August of 2017 we saw Klansmen and white supremacists and neo-Nazis come out in the open. Their crazed faces, illuminated by torches, veins bulging and bearing the fangs of racism, chanting the same anti-Semitic bile heard across Europe in the 30s. And they were met by a courageous group of Americans. And a violent clash ensued. And a brave young woman lost her life. And that's when we heard the words of the President of the United States that stunned the world and shocked the conscience of this nation. He said there were, quote, some very fine people on both sides. Very fine people on both sides?
Now, you know how the rest of this played out. This is what inspired him to run for president, because only Joe Biden could solve the racial divide in this country. Only Joe Biden can unify us and bring harmony to a divided nation. And well, how's that working out? We'll get to that in a moment. But did you notice something about that moment? The really important quote from Donald Trump about Charlottesville, there are very fine people on both sides. Why didn't they just play Donald Trump saying that? Why did Joe Biden quote him and narrate his quote instead of just playing the clip? Did you ever notice that? Did you ever wonder about that? Well, this is why they didn't. Here's the actual video of that moment.
You know what? It's fine. You're changing history. You're changing culture. And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally. But you had many people in that group other than neo-Nazis and white nationalists, okay? And the press has treated them absolutely unfairly.
I mean, it's as plain as day. And this is not new. This has been out there forever, or for 7 years since it happened. And Snopes comes out on June 21st, 2024, and finally says, no, he didn't call neo-Nazis and white supremacists very fine people. Where the hell have you been, Snopes? This lie has been repeated, forget about around the world before you get your pants on, Mark Twain. This thing has gone to Pluto and back. And we've known it was a lie because we actually bothered to take a look at what he said that day. But no one would listen to us. No one would listen to you. I'm sure that your kid coming back from college started screaming at you because you had a Trump sign in your front yard, that you were a racist and a white supremacist because you were supporting that guy. How can you support that guy? He supports the Klan. No, he doesn't. He didn't say that. But that's the world we've been living in because of the lie of Joe Biden, the lie of the Democrats, the lie of the media. Now, I want to give credit to a former colleague of mine, a great reporter, a great writer. His name is Joel Pollack. He's still editor-at-large over at Breitbart. I used to work with him at Breitbart. Joel Pollack, who, by the way, is also an Orthodox Jew. So, he's sort of got his radar up. If somebody's a Klansman and a neo-Nazi, he's been writing from day one that this has been a lie. And he actually confronted Joe Biden on the campaign trail. He confronted Joe Biden to his face about this lie. Take a look at Joel's video.
Mr. Vice President, are you aware that you're misquoting Donald Trump in Charlottesville? He never called neo-Nazis very fine people.
He called all those folks who walked out of that, they were neo-Nazis, shouting hate, their veins bulging.
But he said specifically that he was condemning them.
He did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight. He said there were very fine people in both groups. They're chanting anti-Semitic slogans, carrying flags.
But you're aware that he...
And then the press people, the handlers, usher him away. But that moment there, that rage-filled, angry man, Joe Biden, which, by the way, this was only 4 years ago, a far cry from the decrepit corpse we see wheeled out today. You saw that statement, veins bulging, veins bulging. That's all you heard from this guy in the 2020 campaign. This was his stump speech. This is what he repeated everywhere. And it's a lie. Has been from the beginning. And now, at least, since leftwingsnopes.com has finally chimed in, you wonder if the corporate media is finally going to correct the record. One of our favorite social media accounts that works with video editing and puts together pretty slick videos, Maze. This is Maze Moore. Maze put together a brilliant expose of this entire escapade. Take a look and enjoy.
Close your eyes. Remember what you saw on television. Remember seeing those neo-Nazis and Klansmen and white supremacists coming out of fields with lighted torches. You remember what the president said when asked?
And you had people, and I'm not talking about the neo-Nazis and the white nationalists, because they should be condemned totally.
Their veins bulging.
He said specifically that he was condemning them.
He did not. He said he walked out and he said, let's get this straight. The veins bulging on their as they were screaming. Remember, just close your eyes and picture what it was. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Nazi sympathizers carrying Nazi fags. Veins bulging. It's their veins bulging. Veins bulging. Veins bulging. How are you, baby? How old are you? Their veins bulging. It's their veins bulging. Bulging. Veins. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Their veins they're bulging. Their veins bulging. Their veins bulging. Veins is bulging. Bulging. Fewer. Have you ever heard this president say one negative thing about white supremacists? Have you ever heard it?
Racism is evil.
Damn it.
And those who cause violence in its name are criminals and thugs, including the KKK, neo-Nazis, white supremacists, and other hate groups that are repugnant to everything we hold dear as Americans.
Good for Maze. That's brilliantly done. And of course, Maze and Talk Radio and Town Hall and Red State and PJ Media and Hot Air and the rest of our sites and Twitchy and most conservatives, we've known the truth of this. And now Snopes is on board, and we appreciate that. Welcome aboard, guys. We've got a few other hoaxes we'd love you to examine that we've been telling the truth about for quite some time. We'd love for you to come on over and explain facts. After all, you do check facts. You claim you're a fact checker. By the way, what's with Biden and the veins bulging thing? It's like he's fixated on it. Dude's got to chill out on the bulging. He really gets into it. He loves bulging. I hope he brings this up in the debate this Thursday. I really do. I really want him to, in fact. By the way, one other thought about this. We're told by Joe Biden, as you just saw, that it was Charlottesville that made him run for president. Charlottesville. The veins bulging. And Donald Trump saying that there were very fine people on both sides. The idea that Donald Trump would never, ever condemn neo-Nazis and racists, even though he constantly condemns neo-Nazis and racists, specifically that day when he was talking about Charlottesville. We're told that Joe Biden ran for president to heal our nation's wounds, to bring us together. We're told that he was outraged that the president of the United States allowed that kind of racism and anti-Semitism to transpire while he was in the Oval Office, and he didn't come out and condemn it. That's what we're told, right? That's what we're told. This weekend in Los Angeles, a gang of pro-Hamas, pro-terrorist thugs, a goon squad, chased down a Jewish woman on the streets as she was going to her synagogue. And this is what happened. This is Joe Biden's America. This is Joe Biden's America in a Democrat-dominated city, in a Democrat-dominated state. This is the picture of hate and violence. This is anti-Semitism. This is Nazi behavior. And Joe Biden stays silent. He says nothing. He doesn't even bother to try to say that there are very fine people on both sides. No. Joe Biden's silence tells us that he's fine with this violence. Joe Biden's silence tells us that he's terrified to say anything about this because he doesn't want to offend the people who are doing the kicking and the beating and the stalking. Joe Biden's silence tells us that he only cares about winning Rashida Tlaib's district in Michigan so he can be president for 4 more years. He is terrified of the mob, not because he's afraid they'll be violent to him. He's terrified of the mob because he wants their votes. That's who Joe Biden is. The man who grandstanded and told lies about Charlottesville won't even bother to emerge from his 7-day hibernation to prepare for his debate to condemn this mob of Democrat goons. That's who Joe Biden is. Fact check that, Snopes. Millions of Americans earn and use credit card rewards. Corporate megastores, now they want to take those rewards away from you. These are rewards that we use on groceries and school supplies, cash back we save on gas and to grow our small business, travel miles that we use to make memories with our loved ones. The Durbin-Marshall credit card bill would eliminate credit card rewards. No more travel miles, no more cash back, done. When lawmakers help corporate mega stores line their pockets, American families pay for it. Well, tell your senator to oppose the Durbin-Marshall credit card bill. Go to handsoffmyrewards.com, learn more about this bill, and then use the tools that are there to contact your lawmaker and tell them, hands off my rewards. Go to handsoffmyrewards.com. That's handsoffmyrewards.com and take action today. Remember Donald Trump's rally up in the Bronx? Thousands and thousands of people showed up in the Bronx, and it was huge for him, or may I say huge. It really put New York on the map for Donald Trump. In fact, the latest poll shows that Trump is within single digits of Joe Biden in New York. Now, that's a big deal. Tomorrow is the New York primary, and the congressman for that area, Jamaal Bowman, he's facing a very tough primary because, well, Jamaal Bowman, he's kind of nuts. He's the one who pulled the fire alarm, during the vote about 6 months ago over the budget. He said that the Israelis were lying about their citizens being raped and tortured by the Palestinian terrorists. Yeah, that guy. Well, he's got big friends in Congress. He's got AOC, who is the congresswoman in the district right next to him, and he's got Bernie Sanders. Yeah, he's that kind of Democrat. And they both showed up for a big rally this weekend in the Bronx, like right near where Trump's rally was. Bowman and AOC delivered some remarks to a video to promote the big rally. Here, take a look at it.
What's up, everybody? We are just a few days out till the election day, our primary election on Tuesday, June 25th. But the good news is that the polls are open right now, and we are here for our brother, Jamaal Bowman. We want to turn out the vote. I don't care if you live in New York 16 and are turning out to vote for him. I don't care if you live outside New York 16. We are texting our friends. We are turning out. We are calling our friends in Tuckahoe, in White Plains, in New Rochelle, in Yonkers, and telling them to vote for Jamaal Bowman.
Ceasefire now, y'all. That's what we're doing.
Right.
Ceasefire now. Let's get it
That's
popping.
Right.
The polls are open today. The polls are open tomorrow. Make sure you get out to vote. Election day is Tuesday. Let's go. We need record turnout all across the district, especially in Yonkers, Mount Vernon, New Rochelle, Co-op City, and Edenwald. Let's get it popping. Let's change the world. It's the many versus the money. We're going to win.
Right.
Let's go, baby.
We're going to win. We're going to take on AIPAC. I'm going to kick some Wall Street ass. So let's go.
Stop the bombs.
What did I just see? What is this? These are how come they get so ghetto when they're back in their district, right? Like with the hand motions of this thing going on and the yo, and it's embarrassing. It's like they're cosplaying. This guy, Bowman, he used to be a high school principal, which, by the way, tells you all you need to know about schools in New York. I think my favorite part was when AOC says, if you live in New York 16, come out and vote. If you don't live in New York 16, send text messages. You know what she wanted to say. Come out and vote anyway. No one's paying attention. We don't care. We don't ask for ID. Just vote anyway. That's what she meant to say. Did you also catch that at the end where she said, we're going to take on AIPAC and Wall Street? Let's be clear on what that means. AIPAC is the American Israeli Political Action Committee. This is an American group that raises money and utilizes it for political purposes to support the state of Israel. Ilhan Omar, a couple of years ago, famously talked about AIPAC, and they said, well, they got the Benjamins. She had to apologize for that because, well, it's an anti-Semitic trope. And now here's AOC saying, we're going to take on AIPAC and Wall Street. Kick some Wall Street ass, she said. You get it, right? AIPAC, Jews, Wall Street, bankers. Get it? That's who these people are. They're not even hiding it. Crazy. Here's AOC taking the stage, and she kept the whole ghetto cosplay thing going. She got up there to Cardi B, and well, just take a look at her. She's keeping it real, man.
You ready to fight? Are you ready to take this world back?
they're just absolutely unhinged. And did you get that? Are you ready to fight? Are you ready to take this country back? Will somebody please explain to her that they're the ones who are in power right now? They've been in power for 4 years, for God's sake. Take the country back from whom exactly? And the hair and the thing and the flipping. And by the way, we're going to show you a little bit more of her speech here. Notice how she's screaming, right? And take a look, if you could, at the stagecraft here in terms of where the camera is and what you can see on camera, all right? The person that you're seeing here shoot this video is like in the third row, it looks like. And look at her jumping up and she's looking at the giant crowd. Yeah, in a little bit, I'm going to show you exactly what the crowd looked like, okay? But just keep in mind the stagecraft and the screaming and the pointing, like as if it's a giant, because it's not a giant crowd. Spoiler alert. I'm going to show you. But all of this is cosplay. All of this is pretend. It's all stagecraft. Now, here's more of AOC screaming into the microphone. And if you close your eyes and squint, I mean, I know it's sort of cliche to compare politicians to Hitler. And I know that that's a, Jake Tapper thing that you're only supposed to do about Donald Trump. But well, I'll let you judge for yourself.
Ready to fight? Are you ready to take this borough back? Are you ready to win our state back? Are you ready to win this country back? And are you ready to fight for peace on earth, a ceasefire in Gaza, and the end to nuclear? And a president influence in our politics. I don't know about y'all, but I am ready to fight. Let's hear it. Let's real quick. Thank you, everybody.
All right. So again with the screaming, again with the shouting. Are you ready to take this borough back? Are you ready to take this state back? This is New York. It's dominated by Democrats. Take it back from whom? And by the way, the answer? The Jews. They're anti-Semites. You know how I know they're anti-Semites? Because the media is constantly telling me that Republicans are anti-Semites. And we know that they're constantly calling us what they are themselves. Now, here's a little bit more of her speech. You got to watch this because it's like, everybody's seeing the clips of her acting frantic and screaming. And yeah, that's entertaining. But what she has to say is absolutely unhinged.
Jamaal himself was a teacher in the South Bronx. And he is under attack by the same forces that I mentioned earlier that ripped our borough apart: racism, greed, and political corruption. And why is our political establishment doing that? Because Jamaal Bowman dared to speak up for Palestinians. Because he dared to join us and become one of the first members of Congress to call for a ceasefire in Gaza. The establishment is primarying Jamaal Bowman because to this day, he has refused to take a dime from corporate lobbies and big money. Not Wall Street, not big real estate, not AIPAC, not anybody. They want him out because he's not bought. He's not owned by anybody. Because he knows that his primary fidelity and duty is to our community, our people, our towns, to White Plains, to New Rochelle, to Yonkers, to Rye, to Tuckahoe, to Co-op City. He knows those are the people that we must center at all and any cost, because Jamaal Bowman is for the children. And it is important to reiterate that they don't give a damn about us. These Wall Street people don't give a damn about us. AIPAC doesn't give a damn about us. AIPAC doesn't give a damn about the Bronx. They don't give a damn about Westchester. Wall Street and big real estate companies don't care if we can afford a home. They care if they can uproot and uphold the people who prevent and uphold that system that keeps us from affording a home in the first place. Jamaal.
So you catch that, right? Wall Street, AIPAC. What does AIPAC got to do with the Bronx, right? And Wall Street is pretty far downtown from the Bronx. Real estate owners, AIPAC, Wall Street in New York. This is all about anti-Semitism. These are all, can I say it, dog whistles for the Jews. This is what they do. It's what they always do. And did you notice nothing there about crime in New York, nothing there about inflation, nothing there about the economy, nothing there about illegal immigration and the weight that has right now on the social network in New York that we all know about, the schools and the social systems, all of the things that are being destroyed because they've opened the floodgates for illegal immigrants in that city. Nothing about any of that. What's the big issue? What's the big talking point? A ceasefire in Gaza. We can hear your dog whistle, Democrats. We can hear your dog whistle, AOC. And boy, talk about hearing them. Look at what happened when Bowman himself took the stage. I warn you, if you've got children in the room, you might want to put the earbuds in because he was dropping F-bombs like nobody.
We're not going to show an impact the power of the motherfucking South, bro. People ask me why I got a foul mouth. What am I supposed to do? You coming after me. You coming after my family. You coming after my children. I'm not supposed to fight back. I'm not supposed to fight back. We're going to show them who the we are. We're going to show them who the we are. Bowman.
Well, I, for one, am very happy that the norms have been restored and that the grown-ups are now back in charge and our nation has been healed from the division and strife and angry, ugly rhetoric that we had under the Trump years, right? Hey, could we play the clip of Joe Biden condemning this kind of hateful, divisive language? Oh, is he still at Camp David getting the injections? Oh, all right. Well, I'm sure he'll get around to it. Here's how the New York Post characterized that rally. Goon Squad. Progressive cringe fest to support embattled Bowman. Yeah, and he is embattled. And it looks like based on the polls, he will lose this primary tomorrow. That's why they're acting like this, because they're just that desperate. But I promised you early on that I would show you exactly how big this crowd was. Now, again, I remind you, they go out there and they're screaming and they're shouting as if there's thousands of people there, right? I mean, remember, this is what it looked like.
I don't know about y'all. I am ready to fight. Let's hear it.
Right? And the stagecraft there, the cameraman right there in the third row, catching everything. And she's jumping around and she's screaming and he was screaming because they got to be heard all the way out there. Okay. You've waited long enough. Take a look at what it looked like from a different angle. Take a look at the crowd they were screaming at. You see, that is the exact same moment when she comes running out and she takes the hair out of the ponytail and she's screaming and she's dancing and she wants everyone in the back to hear her, right? That's why she's screaming. Look at that. In fact, here, let's just freeze it and zoom in a little bit. Remember how I told you the cameraman there taking the shot was like in the third row? Little did we know that the third row is also the last row, because all they had was 3 rows of people. You see what I'm seeing here? And by the way, half of those people are probably the media and paid staffers. And here's really important. Take a look if you can, all the way. You know, if I enlarge it on my screen, how big can I get it? Let me just see here. Did that work? Did that get bigger for you? A little bit, right? See the barricades in front, keeping the masses from rushing the stage. And by the masses, I mean the 3 rows of paid staffers and media people. So you see that barricade in the front, right? Now take a look all the way. Then you've got that big expanse of green, all that grass, right? And then you see the barricade in the back. You see that? So you got 3 rows of people, then you got this vast expanse of grass, and then you've got the barricades in the back. You know why you got those barricades in the back? Because they expected that entire space to be filled with people. They got 3 rows of paid staffers and media and maybe a couple of homeless people that they just dragged out from the fountain and said, here, we'll give you some free water if you stand here and scream for AOC. But that's all they got. You remember what Trump's rally in the Bronx looked like? Boy, they are in trouble. But again, the key here is that if you went to the media and you watched how this was covered, all you saw was this. Right? You saw this shot. And you saw her screaming and shouting to this giant crowd. And it's all made for TV. It's all stagecraft. And the cameras showed you what they wanted you to see. And by they, I mean the Democrats, the left, the Marxists, and the media who partners with them. This is what they saw, thinking that she was speaking to a giant crowd of people, when in reality, well, this is the reality. In other words, we are winning. They are losing. They have to manufacture a lie and call it reality. And yes, they control 90% of the media. Yes, they own the cameras. Yes, they can push this out there. But as long as we're still breathing, as long as we're able to show you the truth, we got a chance. It's a slim one. But we stick together, we got a chance. So on HBO, Bill Maher, he does his little left-wing love fest, right? And once in a while, some truth will emerge. And this week, the truth emerged from the unlikeliest of places, from former governor of New York, Andrew Cuomo. Now, Andrew Cuomo right now is the most dangerous man to the Democrats in this country. He is a Democrat who knows what's really going on, and he doesn't care because they've already kicked him out of the club. By the way, to protect Joe Biden and to protect Gavin Newsom and Kamala Harris. You see, Andrew Cuomo was going to run for president. Now they've pushed him aside, and he's pissed. And so he doesn't care if he tells the truth or not. And the most dangerous Democrat in America is a Democrat who once in a while accidentally tells the truth. So here's Andrew Cuomo telling the truth about the criminal trials against Donald Trump.
The 2 trials in New York, New Yorkers said, 66% said the justice system is politicized. There's nobody in New York who likes Trump. And still 66% said the justice system is politicized. They believe it is political. And you want to talk about a threat to democracy. When you have this country believing you're playing politics with the justice system and you're trying to put people in jail or convict them for political reasons, then we have a real problem.
Well, and the trial in New York was the greatest fundraising bonanza ever. He was lagging behind Biden, and now he's pulled quite a bit ahead. That trial was the greatest reason people had to send their checks for 5, 10, 25, whatever dollars to Donald Trump.
And I want to pause there for a second because think about what you just saw. Because this is the dementia of the political left and the cultural left personified by Bill Maher. You just had the former governor of New York and former attorney general of New York say to the world that the criminal trials against the former president of the United States and now the nominee for the Republicans and the man leading in all the polls for president of the United States, that the criminal trials against him were a sham, that they were made up, that even New Yorkers who don't like Donald Trump recognize that it is the judicial system being used as a political weapon, one of the most corrupt, unconstitutional, anti-American things that we have seen in our lifetime. Andrew Cuomo, with some level of gravitas and stature, communicates that, and all Bill Maher can say is, yeah, and it helped him raise money for his campaign. This is and Bill Maher is like, being applauded because he's having this forum on his show. And nobody's pointing out the fact that Bill Maher is not disgusted and offended by the weaponization of the courts and our judicial system and the message that it sends to you and I, that if they want to get you, they'll get you. And you don't have a chance, because if they can get Trump, they can get you. This is one of the most deteriorating things that has happened in this country, making everyday Americans feel like our country is completely corrupt and past the point of no return. And all Bill Maher can say is, yeah, and he's been able to raise money because of it. I mean, the worst thing about it is that it's helped Trump politically. Are you kidding me? And of course he's not kidding me, because that is all he cares about. If you're going to use the court system and the law as a political weapon, make sure you do it in a way that it doesn't help Trump. That's really the message. And he goes on to take that message. Watch.
The repercussions might be worse. And I was always with you on the one in New York, the hush money trial. I don't think they should have brought that one. It was just always going to look like a sex case, and people were always just going to look at it that way.
The Attorney General's case in New York, frankly, should have never been brought. If his name was not Donald Trump and if he wasn't running for president, I'm telling you, that case would have never been brought. And that's what is offensive to people. And it should be. If there's anything left, it's belief in the justice system.
Just heard the one about trying to overthrow the government of the United States. That's the main thing. He tried to overthrow the government of the United States.
But of course, he didn't. And in fact, the special counsel, Jack Smith, who was charged with investigating President Trump's actions leading up to January 6th and the days after January 6th, he never charged Donald Trump with, what did Bill Maher say? Trying to overthrow the government of the United States. They didn't charge Donald Trump for that. In fact, of the over 1,000 people arrested in the wake of January 6th, do you know how many of them have been charged with insurrection or treason? Do you know how many? None. Zero. So here's Bill Maher hearing from Andrew Cuomo that the justice system is being used in the most corrupt and vile third world banana republic fashion as a political weapon against the leading candidate for president. And the two takeaways Maher has is, it's going to help him politically. He's raising money off of it. That wasn't good. And you should have just gone after him for overthrowing the government, when literally the guy, the corrupt special prosecutor whose job it was to bring charges against him for overthrowing the government, couldn't even bring those charges. And this leftist, I'm sorry, moron still doesn't get it. And we've got a little bit more from Andrew Cuomo here, and I want to pause for a second because I don't want to be misunderstood. Andrew Cuomo is a partisan hack and an odious, corrupt criminal, in my opinion. And there are thousands of New Yorkers who are dead today because of his executive actions as governor of New York during the COVID-19 pandemic. I am no fan of Andrew Cuomo. He's a despicable man, and I think he should be brought up on charges. That's why it's even that much more revealing and powerful that this odious, forgive me, shows up and delivers this hard truth. Now, listen, don't get me wrong. I know how maniacally politically minded Andrew Cuomo is. He's probably trying to find his own lane. He probably thinks that he still has a chance to be the nominee at the convention when they chuck Joe out. Or maybe he's just lining himself up to be the reasonable guy in the room for 2028. I don't know. Trust me, whatever Andrew Cuomo's goals are and intentions are, it's not about the truth. It's about what benefits Andrew Cuomo. All right? So I just want to make sure I'm not misunderstood in presenting what he had to say. But what's the saying? Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Even a blind squirrel finds a nut or an acorn or a You get the point. Here's Andrew Cuomo moving on from the weaponization of the judicial system and moving on to the other obvious disaster under Joe Biden's watch, and that's the invasion at our southern border.
His immigration policy was a mistake, right? I get the theory of the extreme left. We're a land of immigrants, let everyone come in. We all came as immigrants. I get it. But how you do it makes all the difference in the world, right? And to just open the borders with no plan, you don't know where they go, you don't know who's going to pay for them. They wind up in cities all across the country. New York has a couple of 100,000 in hotels, costing New York City a fortune. No jobs, no training, no help assimilating into society. So who did you even help, right? It was a great theory.
You have the person in your old job, the governor of New York, a Democrat, saying, "Don't come here." Those are her exact words. "Don't come here." And the mayor of New York saying, "This is going to ruin our city." I mean, if I didn't know who was talking, I would have thought they would be Republicans.
Yeah, but they didn't stop them, Bill. They could have stopped that.
Right.
The governor was saying she didn't want them outside of New York City. But the mayor could have said no. The governor could have said no. Many mayors and governors said no. But New York was more of the ideological left. All are welcome. And now we're finding out, 200,000 people later, you needed a plan. You needed to know what to do with these people. And that's where you found.
Trump is up. He has a 23-point edge with Latinos on the issue of border security. I feel like this is one of those issues where the Democrats trying to be so unracist are actually kind of racist because they don't seem to see Latinos as Americans.
Right.
Like they care about border security too. They're here.
That's right. And of course, we would add to that the victims, the overwhelming majority of the victims of the crimes perpetrated by the illegal immigrants who shouldn't be in this country in the first place, the victims are, in fact, Latinos. The crimes take place in the Latino community. The vast majority of those young women who have been raped and murdered by illegal immigrants since Joe Biden and Alejandro Mayorkas opened up the border are actually Latinos. And here's Bill Maher sort of tipping his toe in the water saying, gosh, it almost seems like Democrats are racist because of their assumptions about Hispanic voters. It's almost like they're the ones. Of course they are. Of course they are. And Andrew Cuomo, again, getting close to the truth, but not nearly as close as he should because he's got his political blinders on and his party loyalty there. Can't say the true nature of the Democrats' problem in New York when it comes to illegal immigration. And that is for 4 years when Donald Trump was president, they had to oppose him. They couldn't concede that he was right. They had to grandstand with their sanctimonious, we're a sanctuary city and hate has no home here. Look at the Statue of Liberty. Look at the poem on the base. That's got to be our immigration policy. And meanwhile, we've had like 10 times more people flood into this country without any vetting and any documentation that ever made it through Ellis Island in the decades that it was functioning. And New York now has to live with the sanctuary city policies that they campaigned on, that they grandstanded on, that they did cable news segments on, and got all that political power from. Because at the time, the policies made no sense. At the time, the policies were destructive. At the time, the policies were going to end exactly where we are right now. But at the time, it was a weapon to use against Donald Trump. And it was a weapon, most importantly, always remember, a weapon to use against you. Because you look at the reality of the situation and you recognize that any sane country anywhere on the planet has the right, the obligation, the duty to protect its citizens, to protect its borders, and to have an orderly fashion of vetting those people who want to enter this country, because it's not a God-given right for everyone on the planet to enter this country or any other country. And we have every right to determine who and how many get in at any given time. You've known that. But when Donald Trump won the presidency on that message, you had to be punished. No, you had to be destroyed. It had to be racist. It had to be xenophobic. It had to be hate. And your children in public schools had to be turned against you with that kind of rhetoric. And hate has no home here posters, and borders don't work, and walls don't work. And now you've seen all those slogans and all that strategy to divide this nation manifest in an actual public policy. And suddenly, Andrew Cuomo saying, yeah, maybe walls do work. Maybe the hate that now finds a home here is hate being imported from other countries, manifesting in sexual assault, rape, and murder. Gee, maybe we shouldn't have done this. But will any of that make a difference between now and Election Day? Well, it really depends. If they can continue to move the needle in the polls one way or the other by calling you a hateful, xenophobic, bigoted racist, you bet your ass that's what they're going to do. Because all the political left in this country cares about is power. Getting it, keeping it, and using it. So, of course, that's what they'll do. But you just got to stick with us. We're going to stick with the truth. We're going to stick with an upbeat message to give ourselves the facts every single day so we can defeat them. That's all we got. But we've got each other. And I think that's going to be enough. Hey, thanks for watching. We're out of time, but we'll see you next time. In the meantime, my name's Larry O'Connor. You can call me Larry.